a number of ways in which you can add a patient. You can select Add Patient from the dashboard and it will take you to the Add Patient page. Otherwise, you could search for a patient if you're unsure if the patient exists in the system. Click on Search Patient, enter the parameters that you wish to search by. We're going to use the last name for this example. And once you've entered the information, then you click on the Search button to see if there are any results. You click and search, and there are no items to display, so you go to Add Patient from the top, and it takes you to the Add Patient page. The first thing you do is the patient consent. You click on yes or no depending on what the consent is. In this instance, the patient is a yes. Put in the date that the consent was received on, and for this example we're using a date in 2014. Enter the details for the patient. The red asterisk fields are the mandatory fields which must be entered, and the blue ones are important for analysis. Now we're going to enter the NHS number, which will be correct, and you'll see that it will accept it. But if you put in an incorrect NHS number, then you will get an invalid message. And so we're going to change that NHS number, put an invalid number in, and you will say it's an invalid NHS number. So you must get the NHS number right. If the number you enter is not correct, it will not show up. We've clicked and save, and you can see all the mandatory fields have said you've got to complete them before you can save the record. So we complete the NHS number, put the date of birth in for the patient, and then we're going to select the gender for the patient. Put the patient's postcode in, and then the email address. It's important you put an email address in, otherwise we will not be able to follow up a patient electronically or via the application. So we put the patient's email address in, and a GP postcode if you have one. That's not a mandatory field, but if you have it, it's useful to enter the information. And you click on Save, and it will save this information. If you click on Next, it takes you to the occupational status page, which is the next thing we have to do. You have to do both the demographics and the occupational status for the patient. It defaults to the current date, so you select what it is and then you change the date to whatever date it is. You cannot use a future date. It can be a date in the past or the current date. So we're using the same date as the consent in this case, and you click and save, and the patient's demographic information has been created. And there you can see that that's been done. The occupational status is complete, and that's the patient's demographic. Once this is on the system, you can always search for the patient and you will find the patient's details. You can then go back to the dashboard by clicking on the icon there.